Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Victor. This is Jack. Anything interesting happened to you this week, Jack?
Okay, so I was passing through the security area, right? And there's this woman I was talking to getting through the area. And there were these two men there, and they were also security. And they were talking to each other, and I was listening to their conversation. And one of them is like, hey, did you see that show Hunters, right?
Okay.
And the other guy's like, oh, is that show about something? And he's just completely wrong. And the other guy says, no, it's this really great show. It's about like hunting down Nazis in the United States.
Wow.
They like go find them in their homes, and then they just murder them, and then they make it look like they killed themselves or it was an accident. It's so good, and there's this new season coming out. So, okay, I had already heard the synopsis of the show a couple years ago when it came out. This is the only show that I've ever gone to Amazon Prime and figured out how to one-star a show that I'm never going to watch.
Okay.
You know? And so I'm like, hey, let's get into the morality of this, you know, and like,
Okay.
and like, because this is wild that human beings are actually these sounds are coming out of their mouths. It's insane to
That
me.
would consider themselves good people if you ask them.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Probably go to church. I mean, they look like upstanding folk. So basically, we watched the very beginning of the season 1, episode 1, 4 minutes 40 seconds long. It's just the intro before
The credits.
yeah,
Like
and it's going to be linked below if you want a YouTube link and just
Yeah.
go watch the first 4.5 minutes. You don't got to have Amazon Prime. Tell us about the intro of it and how wonderful it is.
so it's 1977. They're having it's just an upper class white family is having like a little barbecue in the backyard. Kids are in the pool and all that. And it's a couple who has another couple over, and they're talking. The old guy is like I want to say he was Secretary of State at some point, but he was pretty high up in the government. And I feel like the Southern accents maybe. And anyway, a third couple comes in at some point, and it's the old guy says, "This is my new associate" or whatever, but it's like a younger generation type guy. And he comes in, he's got this girlfriend and
Wife.
wife.
I believe
Okay.
so, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Oh yeah, wife. And this wife is just behaving really strange, like is not like is frozen up and all that. And eventually she's like shaking, and then eventually she just starts. It was filmed weird. I couldn't tell what she was pointing at initially,
Right.
because of how they were. I think it was like all one shot because the one camera just kept swinging around.
Yeah.
But it's basically she just starts like pointing and yelling at the old guy whose house she's at,
And what is she yelling?
and like it's him, and then eventually,
butcher.
eventually it's the butcher, and call the police, and why is nobody doing anything?
Yeah.
And then
it turns into Nazi as she's pointing at him.
right, and the old guy's just like, "What are you doing? Maybe
Yeah.
she needs to lay down or something. Is she okay?" And all that. And then eventually, and because he's a Nazi, he gets fed up with it, and he has a pistol with a repressor on it,
At his
suppressor.
grilling station.
Right, just
in
happens
case.
to have one underneath there,
Right.
in case the Jews
Because
show
he's
up.
got to do Nazi stuff, you know what I mean?
Right, which means slaughter everybody in the backyard, family, wife,
Yeah.
friends.
Starts with his own wife.
Yes, goes to the kids.
Yeah. Then they're running away old people the first couple.
Right, bam, bam.
Then the new young associate leaves the Jewess alive.
Right, and then just goes on this insane tirade of how he's had these half-breed kids that he's sick
He's
of.
wanted to choke his kids every day. And I'm thinking about this, like, I got these neighbors, right?
Okay,
And
yeah.
they're like, German American Day is coming up. They're like, we'll only stick with Germans. Like, you can do that if you want.
Sure.
You make a choice of whoever you want. You can be a Frenchman and only have French women.
Sure.
Like only date, marry.
Yeah, whatever.
Why would this guy be like, he's a terrible Nazi,
Right.
And he's like, I only want to breed with my own kind, but I'm going to breed with other kinds and then dream of choking my children all day long for 18 years.
Decades. Yeah. And though, he just goes on this speech, and he's just like he's staring into the camera, and it's just like in this insane person who's
Yeah.
just, I it's been so long since I've fed, and I can't wait to.
Oh, yeah.
Now we get to feed again, and
And she's like, but we survived. He's like, no, you marinated.
right.
And at one point, he just flips to German,
Oh yeah, right.
And
then, but she's like chanting.
Oh, yeah.
Hebrew Jewish.
She's
stuff,
doing the Kabbalah or something, yeah.
Whatever. And she got her Star of David necklace on and all that, and then eventually, it ends with him.
Yeah.
Ending
But
her.
in German, he says, we're here, we're among you, we're everywhere. You thought you killed us, like, we're coming back.
Right.
And it's like, it's the stupidest introduction to a show. It's the stupidest TV that I've ever seen in my life that's not satire.
But that's only because of your perspective. I feel like 2 years ago, I'd have thought, man, this is going to be some really good
Okay.
bad guys. and they're going to get into it. Like, it's gritty. It's
amazing, interesting. I can't see outside my own perspective that much to see how.
Well, because it's so fresh
ludicrous
to me.
Okay.
And it's the shame. I felt shame knowing that not too long ago I would have thought that was a great show.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. My thought is like, if this was satire and Borat had done this scene, it would be hilarious. You know?
Okay, gotcha.
We killed 6 million, and then he like say, what if he says, we killed 6 million of you
And one.
and then we were so devious that now you can't even prove that we gassed one.
Right.
You have no proof that we gassed one. That's how devious we are, and we're gonna kill 600 million more. Do you know what I mean? Like Borat could pull it off; it'd be hilarious. You know.
Sure.
But okay, so this got us talking about a variety of subjects, right?
Okay.
What's the morality of going down hunting people in their home, this and that? But first, I want to go like historically, what's happening with this? Like how relative to actual history is this?
Well, my first issue was in 1977. I was just doing quick math in my head. How old is the wife? If she has a memory of this dude, the camps we the Ally got there in late 44, early 45. So that means she had to have a memory. So she was at least 4 or 5. So I mean, she was born in 40-ish. You tell me that chick was 37 years old?
Oh, that's interesting.
I just didn't even think, like, she wasn't even alive.
Okay, yeah. I did see that she was pretty young. She was younger than the guy she was with. I don't know. Maybe her chanting gave her, magical youth. But, like, let's talk about, like, what's happening in like, actual news. Like, what has happened.
In 77?
No, in real life. With the Mossad running around capturing the Nazis. We're going to talk history right here. He doesn't know where we're going with this.
I don't.
But we're going to talk history.
Okay.
And so, basically, it's like there was this... the most recent one was that I told you about it, the 90-something-year-old secretary.
Oh, right.
Okay, so I was going to tell you that story real briefly, and then we're going to get into an actually better story. So this lady, 97-year-old Irmgard Ferkner, sorry about that, worked as a stenographer and typist at the Stutthof camp near Gdansk in Nazi-occupied Poland from 1943 to 1945. Okay, so I got the second link in the description. The first one will be that clip. The second one will be about this, right? Okay. And basically, they tried her she's 97. They tried her as a juvenile in Germany because she was a juvenile when she committed her crimes. And like before or during the trial, she literally flees her retirement home to avoid the trial. And the police pick her up a couple hours later, wandering through the streets. This is the lady that they're trying, for her crimes. Anyways.
But the crime of being a stenographer.
Being a stenographer, yeah.
Okay.
In a camp. It's okay. This is so convoluted, but let me just tell you how it ends real quick. They capture her. They find her guilty. They give her a 2-year suspended sentence for her role in the murder of 10,505 people during the Holocaust. Okay. So now the next link in the description below, I'm going to take you to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, the USHMM. And so that's the #1 pro-Holocaust. They love everything about the Holocaust. They get $120+ million from the government, right?
A year,
right? To give you the information about all the gassings, right? Everything they tell you is authentic. But I'm using their site, and so I'm like, oh, I've never heard of Stutthof camp. Let me look at it. Okay. There's a link in that article, which I've then takes you to the USHMM website, and it's absolutely absurd. They're like, okay, so it was a labor camp. But then later on, they turned it into a concentration camp. But keep in mind, they also had a small gas chamber, so it was also a little bit deathy. And they would just gas anybody that they didn't like. Even though I'm going to put up on the screen from the USHMM, the chart we always show, and it shows the list of where all the 6 million died, right? Okay. 2.7 million in camps, 3.3 million just elsewhere. And it shows where elsewhere on the chart. Stutthof is not on there. But just in the article about it, they're like, yeah, it was also a death camp.
Oh.
It's never been claimed to be a death camp by anybody except for the USHMM, it's in the article because it can't not be.
Right.
Why would it not be? Anyways, and then the article goes on to just the most ridiculous thing ever. So at the very end, they're like, oh, they're encircled on all sides. They got to get out of there. So what do? They do a death march. They always do a death march.
Seems like.
They march all of the camp prisoners in order to keep them alive to kill them.
Right.
Because you got to keep them alive to kill them.
Yes.
At one point in the article, they're like, yeah, and then they marched over here and they got bored with the people they're marching. And so they put 5,000 of them and made them get in the sea and then just shot machine gun down 5,000 of them. Okay, so the Soviets are right behind them. Where are the pictures?
Yeah.
The Soviets would have loved to take those
Oh, yeah.
pictures. But you've never found one picture of any German doing this, except for the famous shooting in Poland where they mass murdered the 5,000. You could see pictures of them doing it. All these Nazis with their AK-47s. You could just see them just gunning, like real Nazis with real AK-47s, because that's what Nazis carry.
That's all I did.
Anyways, so we're getting off in the weeds there. I just think this is ridiculous. Okay, so this story here is just to keep the Holocaust in the news.
Right.
And even in the article, they're like, oh, but there's probably one of the last of the trials of its type. You know?
Like they're sad about it.
Yeah, like, okay. Now we're going to get to the big trial because this is absolutely absurd, okay?
Okay.
So there's this guy, Adolf Eichmann, okay? He's the architect of the Holocaust, they say, right? I mean, there's not really evidence of that, but he is. Okay, just trust me. So anyways, it's late in the war, and so he's captured by the Americans. So they throw him in a American detention camp. He flees the camp in January 1946. He's using fake names, you know? He hides in a farm for a few months, and he goes to the British occupied zone with another name. Now he's Otto Henninger. In 1950, the Catholic Church granted him a certificate of indulgence. There's next article is about this in the description below, which enabled him to sail clandestinely from Italy to Argentina under the false identity of Ricardo Clement. Okay, Eichmann, ironically enough, right? This is hilarious. He goes to work at a Mercedes-Benz workshop.
Nice.
He's not good at hiding. So he goes to the German. Okay. In 1952, 2 years later, his wife and child joined him. Okay. So now this link that I give you in the description is from Yad Vashem. Okay. So this is Yad Vashem is the US HMM of Israel.
Oh.
So this is the Holocaust Museum of all Holocaust museums.
Right.
You know, like you need to go and do your pilgrimage, you know?
Sure.
They also have a publication. So this is from their publication. And when you're, so I even like, just yesterday, I Googled, is the Times of Israel, is that a real thing? I've talked to you about this before.
Yeah.
I read these Israeli publications and I'm like, no, it's white supremacists doing this.
Right.
They're writing this and they're faking it like, nope, real.
Okay.
This is real, right? And so in the article below, you will see it goes like this. I'm just going to quote from it, right? It says, Fritz Bauer, comma, the parentheses, Jewish prosecutor general of the West German state of Hessen, acting out. Okay, wait, you threw Jewish in there. I feel like that's what a white supremacist would do. And I'd be like, I'm not sure if I got to double check that.
Right.
No, this is a Jewish source saying that they're a Jewish person. That sentence finishes with him doing illegal things in order to capture Eichmann. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, it's just, the disconnect's amazing. Okay, so Fritz Bauer, so he's the Jewish prosecutor general of the West German state of Hessen, acting outside of his formal role for fear that official action might foil the success of the operation. So he's going to do it illegally. Conveyed to the Israeli government solid information about Eichmann's whereabouts. So he's a German citizen who's absolutely loyal to Germany.
False.
He's in a political position.
Right.
He then does something illegal to aid a foreign country. What do we call that?
Traitor.
Treason. That's treason. That's a hanging offense. Oh, only for Eichmann, not for him. Spoiler. Okay. So basically, then you go. Okay, so now they're going to send the Mossad squad to capture this dude. And in the article, it starts like this: the Snatch Team included Rafi Eitan, Peter Malkin, Zvi Arahoni, and Moshe Tabor. Right.
Okay.
So they call their Mossad kidnap squad the Snatch Team included, as if it's a regular thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's how it went down. The operation was carried out under the command of Mossad chief Isser Harel, with the backing of Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion of Israel. After seizing Eichmann close to his Garibaldi Street home in the suburb of Buenos Aires, his captors rushed him to a place of concealment. Right? You ready for this? Under interrogation, Eichmann admitted his true identity and signed a document giving his consent to stand trial in Israel.
Sure.
That was completely fully consensual. I promise you.
Yeah.
There's nothing weird going on there. And, everything after. 11 days later, he was clandestinely flown to Israel on an El Al airliner. 2 days after Eichmann's arrival in Israel on May 23rd, 1960, the prime minister took to the Knesset, which is their legislature.
Okay.
And he took to the Knesset podium to proclaim that Eichmann had been captured and was in Israel. The news stunned and amazed public opinion in Israel and worldwide because he'd been kidnapped. And but completely voluntarily
Right.
agreed to stand trial where he'll be hung within 2 years. Okay. Anyways, and then like here's what happened. 2 months following the abduction, were marked by a severe diplomatic row between Israel and Argentina. I don't know why. The latter complaining to the international community and the UN Security Council about infringement of its sovereignty, feverish diplomatic efforts by Israel's foreign ministry, and the Jewish intellectuals who rallied worldwide. Keep in mind that Jewish people do not have systemic power
right.
worldwide. Restored bilateral relations to normalcy. In the course of the trial, particularly towards its conclusion, a majority of nations and world public opinion recognized the justice of the Israeli action and Israel's right to bring the villain to justice. This is from Yad Vashem.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they hung him in 1962.
Wow.
Okay. Just give me your opinion. What do you think?
If world opinion really was changed and everyone supported it, it's just, how can you say they're not in power? Because people who aren't Jewish aren't gonna, especially in '62, the Holocaust was a relatively new idea then. Because wasn't it in the '50s that it came out? That's really where they started pushing it.
Yeah, I mean, it gained momentum. They pushed it from the very beginning.
Okay.
Because remember, at the end of World War I, they pushed 6 million Jews were murdered,
Mm-hmm.
and it just didn't get momentum.
Okay.
But yeah,
gotcha.
it gained momentum through the 50s and 60s, right?
Okay. So yeah, I feel like that really lends to, even back then, how much power they had worldwide.
Right. Or they're just lying, and then everybody realized it was trash that they were running around kidnapping
gotcha.
people.
But yeah, and yeah, just going into another country, that's just insane. And Argentina had a completely valid complaint,
Right.
About to the UN and all that.
Yeah. So I kind of knew about this stuff, but I didn't know the details until I researched it. And my thought when I heard these guys talk was, I was listening to the one guy say about how cool it was that they were running around murdering these people in their homes. And I thought, okay, so what you're saying is you 100% consent to anybody of any ideology coming into your home while you're at work, drowning your kids, hanging your wife, make it look like she did it all, as long as they feel like they are morally justified. It doesn't have to be legal. It doesn't have to be right from your opinion. They just have to feel like they're, do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And in this, I'm not referring to Eichmann, I'm referring to hunters.
Right.
And it's just an absurd lack of any type of understanding of reality.
Right. And yeah, but I just feel even the dudes you were talking to, I go back to the morals thing. Like, it's such a contradiction of their moral stance and them thinking that show is a good idea. Like, they believe that this terrible evil deserves this out of the ordinary, like, treatment and that type of thing. Like, it's somehow they justify it.
So you're saying even if the Holocaust did happen, you would be okay with it, or
no? I'm saying that in their mind, that this thing was so bad that it's okay to act in this terrible way.
It's actually moral to break the moral rules.
Yeah, like it's almost like, well, good guys have to do bad things sometimes, or you know what I mean? Like they're, like that. I've watched 24 a couple times through Jack Bauer. And when he's torturing a bad guy, I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, there's a nuke gonna go off. He's got to stop the. He's got to get. It's that kind of justification, though, of just go into another country and take who you want because they did something bad 70 years ago or whatever.
I don't know. What would Israel say if, I don't know, say an Argentinian refugee Nazi death squad, right, which doesn't exist, went to Germany and got this dude, what's his name, Fritz Bauer.
Okay.
Who committed treason against Germany? He just admitted it. I mean, Yad Vashem, I will call you to the stand to testify against this guy. He committed treason, and then snatched him out of Germany, brought him down to Argentina, tried him for. Oh, also keep in mind that whereas Irmgard Furkner, the old lady, she was tried in Germany for a 2-year suspended sentence. This guy was tried in Israel and hung.
Wow.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Eichmann was tried in Israel and hung. Which I don't know how you get jurisdiction.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know the whole like the treason of that dude to Germany. That is amazing that was cool, and Germany was cool with it. Of course, they don't have power, so they have to be okay with it. But like Argentina would never do that thing because then Israel would get America to put sanctions and bomb them or whatever. You know what I mean? There's always the
yeah. I just feel like, because see, this kind of goes along. We did a video. I'll put the link in the description. I'll put a card on YouTube, but it's like, would you kill baby Hitler?
Right.
And we talked about like these people who say like, if I could just go back in time, I would murder this innocent child in his crib. You're an insane person.
Right.
You're gonna pre-crime a baby
For something you can't prove he did in the future.
Even in the future, you can't prove that he did the thing in the
Right.
past. That you're gonna go back into his past and murder
Right.
him in his infancy. You know, and it's that same kind of just moral just filth. It's so disgusting.
But it shows the depth of the brainwashing.
The
does. Conditioning.
It really does. It's like that. It's like that butcher guy. Okay. So one part of this that I left out that I want to talk about was when I'm looking at these guys, these security officers, and I want to tell them. I wanted to tell them this. I want to tell them, oh, so you really like that show? Because that show is about the people who really want to promote child pornography and child trafficking and charging you interest and every immoral thing in the world, hunting down the people who want to stop child trafficking, who want to not charge you interest, who want every good traditional family-oriented thing in the world.
Right.
And you're rooting
For
the chosen people
right.
to run around and illegally kill the good guys. Now, at that point, I hadn't seen the intro to Hunters, so I didn't know how they were doing it.
Okay.
You know, because there was that, what was that called? Man in a High Tower?
Yeah.
Is that was the name of it? For
Yeah.
sure? Okay.
Yeah. Or Man in the High Castle.
Oh, Man in the High Castle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in it, you get an actual portrayal of Nazis.
Yeah, it was real. Now that I know more, looking back, that
Right.
was pretty
They're
good.
all very traditional.
Yeah.
They're very treat their women very well. They treat their children well, but they're strict and, you know, authoritarian. It was a pretty good representation, honestly. I don't know how it ended, so it might have just went.
Yeah, season 3 is terrible. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I only made a couple seasons.
No, but that's what we watched, and we didn't even go. In
Okay,
4.
okay.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I just like I don't know. I thought this too. I thought a good way to approach these people would be like just to say, I don't know, like just look up what were the first 2 laws the Nazis made. The first 2 laws, Hitler's executive orders. What were they? And just go from there. And then just get your mind completely blown. It was child trafficking and no more charging interest. Done with child trafficking, done with child porn, and no more charging interest. And then rewatch your show.
Yeah.
And then just think about it and just, wait a
Right.
second, something's wrong here. And just try to figure it out. I don't know if you'll ever be
Sure.
able to. Anyways, so what do you got?
So, you didn't watch this, but right after the 4.5 minutes, there's I'm gonna call it like the title intro where they're going over who all the actors are. You know, it's like the intro they're gonna play at the beginning of each episode. So imagine a chessboard. On one side, you have the Nazis who are all dressed in gray trench coats and have their guns out, and on the other side, you have a smorgasbord of poor people, ethnic people, Jewish people with a knife that they found, or they're just these are the people that are fighting against the
I
the
really
evil.
want to see this.
And it's just slowly the pieces are moving around, and that's basically the whole intro. And I was just thinking, like, the brainwashing is so intense that the people that are on the other side of the Nazi board don't realize they're fighting with the people who hate them. And it's all reinforcement. It's all going, these people are on one team, and the people from World War II, they're the bad guys, and we need to band together. No, you should all be over here against, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like it's
right. If you showed the actual board, it would be like Soviet troops with a pile of millions of corpses behind them, and just Allied bombers coming over the top, just like, hey, we're looking for any good guys to bomb. You know what I mean? Let's 1,000 bomber raid the good guys, on behalf of the communists.
right.
So,
But anyway, it's just a real interesting, they hit so many different aspects of the brainwashing in that 5 minutes that you watch there. And it all seems, like you're saying with the trial, it's just, you're keeping the outrage alive. You have to keep the programming going out there so people remember that they have to be mad.
right.
And that type of thing.
Yeah, we have a guy on Rumble who uses the phrase on his comments, the Allied propaganda.
Okay.
And he's like, if you can just defeat the Allied propaganda. But it's amazing because we're talking about, what are we talking about? Almost 80 years since the war ended.
Yeah.
Almost 80 years. And not only has the propaganda captured every generation before you to the war, including you up till a certain point in your life, I'm just going to guess, or even still hold you now.
Yeah, maybe.
they still want your children
Right.
for Allied propaganda for World War II. That's is this the longest going single propaganda campaign?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's hard to know, but what else would be longer than this?
Yeah, because if you think about when the Tsar fell to when communism collapsed, that was also about 80 years.
Okay.
From the 10s to the 90s.
Okay.
But that was varied propaganda, you know?
Yeah.
And then this is just consistently, it's wild.
And I mean, you remember from the Greatest Story Never Told, they went into how long the Allied people control German literature and education and all that.
Right.
It's another 80 years still that they have control of that.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's the end of this century that they have full control over what Germans learn.
Oh, I wonder if I can find that in time when I edit this video to put it on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, that's
the
an
numbers.
incredible, yeah, how much control there is.
Okay.
So we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It's a shocking intro. You definitely go watch it. Again, 4.5 minutes on YouTube, link below. Check it out. And if you like this kind of stuff, please check back again. We post 3 times a week. And
we also name who the bad guys are.
Yeah.
Unlike everybody else you ever watch.
Right. We do our best to speak as much truth as we can find.